So, welcome everybody to expand our thinking, consciousness, and really become the driver of our circumstances. And today's guest is Gary from Australia. It's a true pleasure to have you with us here. Gary, and to give you a little bit of context, Gary, myself, we both spent a couple of months, a year doing a program with Tony Robbins, and I think we never met in person, but sharing his experiences and a joint communication group we're in, it just intrigued me so much to reach out to him to share with us all what he has been learning, experiencing over the last years, and he created something called the Awakening Groups, Awakening Journey. And like sharing our awakening experiences, stories. So one of the first things I wanted to ask you, what for you means actually awakening?
Man, that's a great question, Simon. It was 2 years ago, start of 2018 pretty much, so a bit over 2 years ago, I started having physical sensations. And it's like big energy going to my head. Why I got the date? Because I only last week I looked up an email I sent to Guru Singh.
Yeah, yeah.
Is a very wise man, a spiritual teacher of ours. I said, I'm feeling this energy, like bulbing energy in my head. And then for at least a few months, I didn't know what that was. I learned that from my spiritual teachers from India, Prodigy. And they say that, you know how much personal development we learn to apply tactics and strategy for us to be more happy, more successful. But ultimately, it's about joy in this present moment. It's about fulfillment. And I realized that no matter how much of these skills and strategy that we learn, Simon, it's like when the minute the situation comes up, if the kids did something, if someone said something happened that triggers me and I react first, that's coming from my reptilian brain, my oldest part of the brain that it doesn't go to the front of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical part, the intellectual part, the part that the newest part of the brain that we can analyze. It doesn't matter how much knowledge that we acquire if we can't use it, and the damage is already done. If you start a yelling match with each other, you start to lose your temper, the damage is done. Imagine you go into a boardroom and you lose your cool because someone says something or give you a certain look, right? And so I heard from Prodigy that the middle part of the brain, there's a meditative process. It only takes 3 minutes. And if you imagine a flame going from the middle of your eyebrow and moving to the middle of your brain, and imagine the flame going there and just picture it. And that will get you to calmness. And I've tried it a few times, it works pretty effectively. And I thought that, hey, rather than just doing it for 3 minutes, why don't I, whenever I'm free, I just work on that part of the brain and I just keep focusing and focus on it. And when I'm meditating, it started to go vroom, vroom, vroom. And I don't have a lot of headache. I will hardly ever have any headaches. But when people describe to me when they need a Panadol, they're getting headaches, it sounds like that's a similar sensation, like, whoa, like big energy going on. And then eventually, it wasn't just when I'm meditating, when I'm talking to people, when I'm driving, when I'm eating, this woo, like in my facial expression when I was trying to communicate to my wife while I was going through, it's like, whoa, like my eyebrows, my face, it's like, it will be like this. I can kind of turn it on, but passively, it will automatically wanting to turn back on. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to control it. And I ran to, that's before I ran to Master Cole and some other spiritual teachers. And in growing up in the Western society, Western type of education, what do? We ask Google, at least in my age, like Gen X, we ask Google, what is this bulbing energy in my head? There's almost like exploding energy. And then eventually, after reading quite a few books, I talks about Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening. So, yeah, it described the symptom kind of like me. And then one of the process, it described how you can move the energy around and shift it to different part of the body. And I tried it. Whoa! And I'm actually shifting it now. I shifted to the throat, and I can shift to a different area. Oh, so once I'm able to put a frame to it, then I can look up more wisdom. What is spiritual awakening? But since I was able to morph it, it wasn't in my way anymore. I didn't dig any further. But in around August, I was flying from Sydney to Singapore, and the Doctor Strange movie was on. And somehow I just pulled up my laptop. And you know, you've seen the Doctor Strange movie, right?
I don't think so. Maybe you can give me.
So basically, this guy, all his life is about science, is about money, is about success, like that. Typical of what the Western society archetype would be, and pretty much most of the world. And then he's driving a Lamborghini or Ferrari or something, and he had an accident. And he's a surgeon. He no longer operates. His hand is busted, right? It's shaky. And so he heard after surgery, like 15, 30, 20, 30 surgeries, after he still somebody told me to go to Nepal to find this great grandmaster that's able to perform some miracle healing. So after he found his way there, he's already like all busted up and not like wearing a suit anymore like he used to. And he's very desperate. He's spent pretty much all his money after surgery, trying to fix it. And then finally, this grandmaster is like, I heard you can do miracle healing. And then they started talking about the grandmaster. Yes, we can. We did help that person. It was like, you know about like chakras. Oh, it's like something you buy from a souvenir shop. And they started showing him the meridian. Yeah, I know about that. Like, you don't give me that crap. And then like started sharing more stuff with him, but he's not believing. And then he says, Dr. Strange, your whole life, you've tried to like see the world beyond, you want to get more knowledge. And you're looking through the world through a keyhole. You always try to expand a little keyhole. The minute that we're trying to tell you there's something more, you reject the whole notion of it. And then from there, you go boom. And then there's a scene like meant to like just went to a different dimension. And he goes through portals and seeing all these weird things and crazy things. And it's whoa, 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 whoa. And just when he came back, he shoots up again. Whoa, boom. So after a few minutes, he's like, oh, teach me. No more convincing required. So the awakening to me, the awakening journey, I classify as 3 stages. One is like the Eckhart Tolle, the Byron Katie, the Set Guru. Like suddenly, David Hawkins, like you just wake up, and so from someone that's been usually as a precursor to go through deep suffering, because that's a leverage for us to find a way out. We've had enough, and so through suffering, and the suffering starts suffering, and one day they're like Buddha-like, they're Zen-like, they can see why everything makes sense. They are one with the universe. They're one with everything. And it just happened just like that. He's not going through any courses. He's not reading any books usually. With Byron Katie, she was in pretty much like a hospital, a mental hospital. A cockroach climbed onto her feet. And you go, whoa. And she woke up. I've seen many cockroaches like climbing around my kitchen, and I didn't wake up from that. So maybe I need to put one on my feet, and that would do the trick.
I will introduce you to my wife. She's from Mexico. They're everywhere there.
So that's the spontaneous awakening. And on the other end of the spectrum, multiple ancient wisdom talks about, especially from 2012 onwards, there's a huge shift of people starting to wake up, almost like popping up pop-ups. And they're being more alerted to the reality of this world is beyond the 5 senses. They start to understand more about their thoughts are not their thoughts. Their emotion is not who they are. Their identity is not the complete who they are. There's more to this world than just making money. there's more, even though they don't know what it is. And it's not just from a religion standpoint, there's God, there's Buddha, like they actually, something just click. They just feel that there's something more. And there's almost like there's a yearning that they're going to devote their time either through consuming external knowledge so they can gain an internal wisdom, or internally they just like looking into the bushes, looking into the forest, want to, what is life about? Why am I here? They have a seeker mentality. So that's almost like a progressive, a gradual awakening journey. And then for myself, I'm somewhere in the middle. My progression is like, it feels like it's a big roller coaster, but it wasn't as dramatic as the barricade, as Eckhart Tolle. Even though my external life, for most people seeing my life, it's like it's got successful business, got loving family, beautiful friends, and like living in a third world country that is like big house and everything, all the luxury stuff that, well, most of the luxury stuff that you can ask for, the basic human needs. What else is there? But internally, it was something that was like hurting. And it doesn't matter that whether it was the business or the wife, if something wasn't waking it up, it's almost like the universe wanted to amp it up, and you'll find a leverage to amp it up so that you're getting such a psychological pain, you look for answers, a deeper way to get out. So that's pretty much the awakening journey. Like I wouldn't want to wish the psychological suffering, and in some people's cases, it's a physical suffering when they go through near-death experiences. But on the other end of the spectrum, the people that go through near-death experience, as an example, all like majority of them feel the love that they felt is like nothing they have ever experienced. It's a greater level of love, greater than their parents, greater than the lovers, greater than any of the sex they've encountered. It's way beyond that. It's words can't explain it. You have to experience it. So it's almost like once you go through that, life is different. And even the people that's going through the gradual awakening, there's something inside that's waking up. There's something that's yearning for more and can start to feel something is more than just like in the past when I was in the busy achiever mode, entrepreneur mode. It's like, okay, what can I do now? What can I do now? The moments I get most frustrated is when I'm standing in a queue or if I'm in the traffic jam. There's nothing for me to do because it's like about human doing. And I've been blessed. I've been a master manipulator of the external world to, hey, like good friends and making money and having like a great family. But it's almost like that is an illusion of what happiness is. It's a temporary pleasure. It's not fulfillment. It's not the inner joy. The inner joy of just speaking to you, or even not speaking, and just looking into your eyes, or even if I'm closing my eyes, it's not about what we do. It's about feeling a sense of joy in every single present moment.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I'm really curious to hear, like, from what you shared, there was this period where you suddenly were exposed to energy, or kind of like you said, you also then practice meditation. And I'm curious to hear, like, how did change your life actually? How was it before, and like, how was it afterwards? Both like within you, but then also as a reflection to the outside. Like, did something change in your outside circumstances too?
The energy part is not so much, but it was, there's this relationships issues, just psychological suffering. It wasn't something like that there was anything really physically bad in the external world or my relationship, but internally I was in a maze that regardless of the tactical strategy we were learning from Dr. Phil or Gary Chapman love languages, or from Armstrong, all those great teaching, and Tony Robbins, like none of those things are bad or ineffective. But to me, like when I apply those learning, I understand now looking back, I know that if it's almost like if there's the physical pain, it's not like, hey, let me just try to manifest and let it heal. You can, but you may just bleed to death. just get a Band-Aid, or let's get some stitches or whatever. There's some things that you use the physical form to work. Also, some things that you use language, you use communication. But there's some spiritual challenges, unless you go to the core of what created those spiritual challenges, you'll keep surfacing. At least that's my belief, that's my understanding. And learning from Michael Singer or from the Buddhism point of view, it's called samskara. When we're growing up, there may be certain situation as a kid, we interpreted certain events as negative events, and especially in our society, don't cry, don't get upset, don't be angry. We suppress a lot of those things inside, and when they are not healed, they store inside as energy somewhere, and they're still trapped. And sometimes those pain will surface up as physical pain. Very often it does. Even cancer is a form of that I believe. So I believe most people, we've got those emotional dramas or traumas that's trapped inside when we, as a child. And so when I started to deal with it, become more conscious, they say that when you raise your vibration and your frequency to be higher to the light, your shadow stuff got nowhere to hide, and you start to surface up as well. So I believe that's what happened, and it was painful to deal with. It's like, man, I'm doing so much, and again, going back to the human doing, I'm doing so much, I'm learning so much, I'm implementing so much. Why am I still having this trouble? Why me? Why is it so unfair? And as our psyche tends to focus on, like whatever we're unhappy with, is focused on the 10% of the things that we don't have in our life, rather than the 90%. But that's the way that the brain operates, at least until we start to retune it. So that's kind of like the start of the journey. What piqued my interest in wanting to go to the midbrain and activate that part. And then probably like a year ago, I found out there's certain research in some of the US university. They said that if you want to focus on certain parts of the brain, they won't focus on the midbrain for that part of the experiment. But if you want to develop the part of the brain that, let's just say you want to play piano, you want to focus on yourself playing piano, that part of the brain will actually grow. And research would say that it's grown by like 5%, 10%, 15%. So it's almost like taking it to gym. I didn't know that was what I was doing, but it was growing that part of the brain. And then from there, it didn't just self-resolve overnight. Things became more traumatic, and that I had to go even deeper and deeper to say what the hell's going on. And from there, going to what I said, I was going to Singapore and watching the Doctor Strange movie. At that point, I started getting downloads in, okay, Gary, this is what life is about. There's 4 different levels of matrix in business, in life, in relationship. I started like, I have no urge to create any course. I have no urge to start sharing some of these content, just downloading stuff. And then I started to learn about how money really works, how the economy really works. And I started going to like,
I'm curious, how is it? Okay, yeah. I'm curious, how is it working?
Well, like it started going down this path, like Illuminati, Cabal. Whoa, September 11, why did Tower 7 go down? And it's like, what? Well, like the war started in Vietnam because of this, Iraq, and then even back in the days of the French War and all these other wars. Whoa! And this apparently evil forces behind controlling it. And then when it got really bad, it's like when I started learning about satanic rituals and sacrificing kids and pedophiles and stuff, and it's like, hey, like I'm all for about like uncertainty was one of my top 3 needs. So I wasn't like I needed to be certain. Like I'm very averse to change. I'm already pro change, but when I started to learn about it got me when I started to talk about Lucifer and Satan. I had no interest in learning any of this stuff. Like it's just all of this stuff just dawned on me like out of nowhere. And I remember I used to have an executive assistant that works with me. Each day she would come in and say, Gary, how are you? So, oh my God, like I'm a completely different person. And I'll be downloading onto her. And then the next day she comes in, oh my God, like again, like I'll be like I'll be watching videos or reading books till like 2 or 3 in the morning. I get up at 6 and go back to sleep for an hour and get back up. This is not my lifestyle prior. It's just almost like this frantic mode of just a lot of the videos I'm downloading when I'm sleeping. When my executive assistant was sitting next to me, I was watching YouTube video at up to 16 speed. And not only that, I have sometimes I have 2 videos playing at the same time and then reading stuff. And it's not like I'm even comprehending like consciously of everything they're saying. It's just like I need to download this.
It's like
and
taking everything into your subconscious mind. Huh? Like,
yeah, but it got really dark, Simon. Because how could humanity be like that? How could be some people be like that if it is true? Which some of the evidence, whether it's one-sided or either confirmation bias. So I believe that even if they say the truth lies in the middle, even in the middle, that's bad enough. What the hell? I've been asleep all these years, and I thought somebody that doesn't know how to make money, they're working for someone else as an employee. They are in a matrix, in the own form of matrix. And suddenly I wake up, dude, all these years I've got my head under the blanket. I've been in a matrix that I have no idea about. Like, and then from there, that is another gift. It coupled with the Hong Kong riots, that was something that was very dear home to me, because I grew up in Hong Kong. I was born in Hong Kong, and you hear about like media controls information and stuff. But like, because I could read Chinese, like if something happened in Iraq and they share in the local information, I don't have access. I can't read the local language. But because I could read Chinese, I could listen to the local language. I know where the websites are, or the forums or telegrams and stuff. I'm reading what the locals are saying. And hearing the Western media is so one-sided. It's so consistent with the main like Fox and CNN and stuff. Oh my gosh. Like the reality, and seeing some of the violence, how could you hit innocent people? This is not like, this is about the people not on the certain side, but they're just innocent. They're getting bashed up. What's going on? But lucky for a lot of the Buddhism, the Taoism, the Byron Katie, like I learned from a lot of these masters, Eckhart Tolle, said, Guru, this is all my projection. And they are just a reflection of myself. I need to come to peace with them. Who's to say that even if there are people that's running pedophile rings and stuff, if I was born and walked in every step of their shoe, who's to say I wouldn't have done exactly the same? And from a greater spiritual angle, a lot of the worldly problems, if you look at it from a worldly logical problem mindset, it's very hard to make sense. And we're going to get in depression and WTF a lot of the time. But from a spiritual sense, what if we wanted to experience contrast? In Taoism, it says, if everything is good, nothing is good. If everything is beautiful, nothing is beautiful. So to experience beauty, one way is to look at something beautiful. But another way of looking at beauty is something that you don't find it beautiful, you find it is ugly. Then naturally, you have a greater appreciation, even for the normal stuff you don't think is beautiful or ugly. Suddenly, they've been elevated to be, wow, even if it's just a rock compared to something you find is disgusting, you go, wow, I'm glad that I'm not looking at a disgusting thing. That rock looks a million times better than that disgusting thing I'm looking at. So from that perspective, I started to, I'm thankful for the whole experience of the riots and stuff. I know there's people that actually got hurt, and some people even got killed. So blessings to those people and their families. But from my spiritual journey, I'm glad that it gave me those lessons for me to self-resolve and understand that a greater love, not to love people when it's just easy. Not to say that if someone gives me a punch in the face, I have that ability to love them right away. Byron Katie has, like, she shares stories, someone pulled a gun in front of her, And she's still so calm and just loving. And what do you want? What can I give you? Not out of fear, but out of love on multiple occasions. So, yeah, that's hope that I haven't verbally vomited on you.
No. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I guess I'm like one of the things I'm personally asking myself, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on that. It's, do you change the world by changing you, but like being you in a high vibration, being full of compassion, love, for like also accepting the potentially very, very evil sides of society? Or then also, is there something I need to do to face this, to like, you could even take the word to fight against it from a point of compassion and love? But like that's like, you get like one of the possibilities I see, like being myself and peace and love, maybe meditating. And the other thing is like maybe do something, talk about it, confront it, take action. And that's the little thing I'm asking myself, like do they exclude each other? Like, can you do both? Or is the one thing, like to take action, not relevant at all? Because in the end, it's everything is just consciousness. So like we're just manifesting everything inside us anyway. So like I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about.
So this is my reality of truth, because everyone's truth is their truth. So in everyone's reality, it is their reality. If you think that this world there's no infinite possibility, there's no parallel universe, maybe he's right. Maybe he'll create that for himself. Versus someone else believe that, yeah, we could fly to Mars, a parallel universe, we could travel in time, we could go to the past, we could go to the future. That could be that person's reality. And we don't know 100%, but we do know that if you believe that you can, the possibility opens up. If you don't think it's possible, the possibility are greatly diminished, right? And subsequently, the actions that you take, if you don't think that you're going to get better from an illness, you're not even going to try to fix it or to look for solutions, right? If you don't think you're going to make more money than what you currently are, you're not even going to try. You're not going to spend time thinking about it. What's the point? It's a waste. But if you think that it's possible, from a logical side, at least you'll go out to make it happen. And from my personal experience, one of the things I haven't shared in my awakening journey is more and more synchronicities and miracles start to pop out. It's just like it'll have my jaws drop, and I could name one after the next slide. I'll give you 3 particular examples.
Yeah, please, yeah.
One from really early on, before my whole awakening journey. Like I used to say that if you lose stuff, if you can't find stuff, I teach your kids, just ask the universe for help. And there's this time that we're trying to look for a receipt, and we couldn't find it. We looked everywhere, all logical places, is not there. And then I started asking the universe. And I looked in one of my wife's handbag, which I haven't used for a long, long time. And like it was the first thing I opened my eyes, I was just turn and look at the handbag. And I open it, the receipt is inside. One of the kids must have like put it inside. So there's no logical reason. Like it's not like that handbag was obviously got stuff everywhere. And it's just first thing I went to look for it. Probably like early on in my awakening journey, we went to a football stadium in Sydney. We took the kids to watch soccer for the first time. We ended up, the game finished pretty late, like around 10-ish, 10:30. By the time we got to the car, everyone's tired. And I touched my pocket. Dude, where's my keys? I didn't say to my kids, dude. I said, uh-oh. Like, I've lost the keys. What do? We got to go back. But hey, let's pray to the universe, like together, that we're going to find the key. And I'm going, okay. And And then my older son says, Davis, he said, Dad, what if we can't find it? Hold that. It's logical thought, but if you doubt the universe, like I would deal with it by the time comes, but just put that doubt in, okay? And just went back, tired, I piggyback one of them, go the way back. By the time that pretty much 99.99% of our people already gone from the stadium. So we got back and security guard like let us in. Two of them like I guess came along to help us. There was a position, two places we sat, one before halftime, one after halftime. So we went to both of those places. We looked around everywhere. It's the whole place is empty. It's concrete floor, so it's not like there's carpet or rubbish to hide around. It's pretty clean. It's not there. And they called lost and found. It's not there. They asked other security guard. Nobody found it. We went to other place, can't find it. And after like 5-10 minutes, we pretty much like given up hope and started walking away 5, 10, 15 meters. And she said, oh, what's your number? Just in case we find it, we'll call you. And then while I'm giving her my number, and she said, what does the key look like? And I started describing it. And the other guy, there's probably like 2-3 meters, like just slightly behind us, just started turning around. And then walked up around 10 meters and straight to a certain spot and just picked up the key. Is this your key? And I go, wow, and like all of us were shocked. I was shocked, but part of me, I was surprised because these little miracles, they start happening in a big stadium. Like we looked everywhere, we couldn't find it. Where he ended up finding it was after we sat down on the second, after halftime, towards the end of the game, people were saying farewell, so we just stood at a certain spot for a little while. I must have taken out my phone or something and dropped the key then. So it didn't occur to me to look at that position. But even then, like it wasn't that obvious. It was somewhere, if it was that obvious, I would have walked past and saw it. And somehow he just turned around and walked straight to the point. It's not like he looked around. Similar to the handbag, he walked straight there. So that was another example. And the third example is when I was going through deep into the awakening experience, it was really difficult. The highest point, the most difficult point that I was facing internally, I was thinking of like taking on my own life and even try to go down that path. But eventually, like I learned that, hey, we all got spirit guides. Like it doesn't cost money to ask a question for your spirit guide for free. Like I love free stuff. So why not give that a try? And I asked the spirit guide, hey, help me, guide me like through this process. And at 4:30 in the morning, just with two names, like both of these people I've never met in person.
Yeah.
I know them through acquaintances and stuff, been in group chats or kind of know who they are. I've never had private message with any one of them. And so I contacted both of them and one of them responded. And my message to him was, hey, this completely I went from somewhere with spirit guides and I asked them for help, and somehow you came up. I never think about these people. I never have wet dreams or sweet dreams about these people. They never come up in my dreams at all, and they came up. Yeah. And they said, yeah, cool, we can schedule a call and talk about it, about the spiritual awakening. And so before our call, I started looking up his website. This guy, in Australia, he guides entrepreneur through the spiritual awakening journey.
Wow.
And it's like, before the whole energy thing, I've never heard of the word spiritual awakening or Kundalini awakening or any type of awakening. And now talking to him, he told me about dark night of the soul. And I've never heard of that term before for 41, 42 years of my life.
Could you just quickly explain what it is?
Dark night of the soul. Yeah. I've looked up a lot of the history, and I'm not one for the details, but for the broadest part, is our soul's journey on the awakening journey. So what I say is a precursor to people awakening. In the traditional term, we call it midlife crisis. People go through the tunnel, but that's not an intellectual term. That's not a physical term. From a spiritual term, the spirit is going through something greater than just our human experiences. It's going through a transformation. And for that, we needed to wake up. And part of that waking up process is, for most people, unless the universe put you in a corner that you've got nowhere to go, like whether it's a financial crisis, a relationship crisis, health crisis, or just psychological crisis, unless you face, or health crisis, unless you face one of those crises, and you're able to, if you, through your human doing, your efforts, your hustle, your bustling, and you ask the question before, should I use effort? I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, whether it's through just limited awareness or consciousness of what we are capable of. No sweat, no tears, no gains, no pain, no gain, like those type of mentality. You have to hard, you have to hustle. The stuff about law of attraction is not about sitting on your bum and do nothing. You have to go and work and hustle. No, you can't sit on your bum and do nothing, and miracles can come. And I'm not saying that that's the only way and that's your way, but it can happen just like that. So back to the dark nights of the soul, when you got your back against the corner and all your efforts and strategy and tactics and nothing works, and you're on your knees, like metaphorically speaking, that you got no other options. Please God, please universe, please someone help me. Your sense of identity of I can fix it, I can whistle my way, I can grind my way out, is collapsing before your eyes. And you're so desperate that someone, something, please help me. When you do that, you allow room for miracles to happen. Before you do that, before the universe or before something brings you to your knees, what will you say when you get out? I did it, Gary. How magnificent I am, how cool I am, how clever I am, how intelligent I am, how smart, how charming I am. And you think that our ego self, our identity did it. And that will get you locked into the matrix even more, thinking that this is the be all and the end all. But when the universe shows you, similar to the example, the three example I gave you, the divine power is so many times more powerful than you. If you're a salesperson, you can make 100 calls. If you don't have the luck or the universe on your side, you don't have the flow, you can have no success. Same as shooting a basketball or any sport that you play. But when you're in flow with the universe, just making one call, you get a sell. 2 calls, you get a sell. And 3 calls, you've got a sell. I'm sure all of us had those moments in the past when you think deeply about it. And you go, wow, what if life came like that? What if the suffering that we're going through, especially with COVID-19 and the world getting locked down, business and things getting affected, what if it's not the challenge, it's not a problem, but the universe is trying to steer to even a greater plan than what you ever envisioned? So what we perceive as the dark night of the soul is because it's almost as a present, but wrapped in sandpaper with spikes and stuff that when we try to unwrap it, we're getting hurt, so we don't even dare to touch it. But once it's being unwrapped before us, you go, wow. We look back, I hear the people that go through this journey, they wouldn't wish for it for anyone. But all of them says, I'm so grateful that it happened. They wouldn't take it back. Whether it's bankruptcy, whether it's loss of loved ones, whether it's they lose a limb. These are like traumatic stuff. None of us want to go through it, but because of this psychological pain and sometimes physical pain, it's the phoenix arise. We arise to even a greater version. We start awakening to our soul and our spirit, something so much more beyond who we are. We get a greater sense of joy and greater sense of being, human being, rather than I need to do, I need to achieve, I need to please, I need people to like me. I need to my identity to be a certain fixed way for me to feel love, for me to feel happy. You just feel joy just because.
It's amazing to listen to your journey, and I'm curious, like, are there do's and don'ts? Like, does each of us has their own awakening journey? Is it exogenous? Is this something which can be facilitated? Also, what would you give yourself maybe 10, 20 years ago as an advice, if you could, or wouldn't you? Like,
one thing that I know that is like through this journey, I have never been spiritual. I never like meditate on a regular basis. Even at the early stage of my spiritual awakening journey, I wasn't meditating on a daily basis. Only probably in the last few months I started like meditating regularly, because I can see what you talked about, Simon. Some big stuff with manipulation help, like through my meditation, my visualization, or through like going to the quantum physics of infinite possibility, and for me to creating my own future, or maybe going to the past and then fixing the past, what it is creating the abundance in my life. Doesn't mean that I don't have the psychological problems, I don't have physical problems that I have to deal with, but there are big things that I have some of them. I have tried to work years with tactics and strategies and effort, and it's still like Groundhog Day, same, but different. I'm using a different stroke, a different flavor, different tactics, different swing to hit it. Still, the whole thing is still there. It's almost like swinging those tennis ball strapped to a string. I hit it and it comes out. I hit it, it comes out. I hit it hard, it comes out faster. But now it's like during some of the process, I wake up, where's the tennis ball? It's gone. Like it's just disappeared. And we talk about, can it be that simple? It can be. Some people, like you talk, it's probably easier like to measure health, because health is less variable. Whereas if you talk about making money, especially if you're running a business, so many variables. Sometimes you got investors, sometimes customers, sometimes economy, sometimes you're really in the right industry, and relationship, you got at least one other person to deal with. But health is just you and what you like. You can control what you eat and most of the things, a lot more controllable elements. And some people like instant healing, that they can't walk, they can suddenly walk. The cancer, stage 4 cancer suddenly is gone. For some people, it takes them a year of meditating, or 2 years or 3 years, eventually they heal. So part of this journey, when I looked in Buddhism, Taoism, many different world religions and shamanism and different practice, I learned about the soul's previous journey, karmic, from a Buddhism standpoint. From a lot of spiritual channeling, they talk about our incarnation in previous planet, older soul, younger soul. Why are we here? Some people are here to hold space. Some people are here as light workers. Some people is to play the role of a villain, so that we can get the contrast in life. So
that would be our purpose, right? Like here in this.
Yeah. So you talk about when are we supposed to wake up? I believe we all have a life plan that we follow. One of the things many things I looked at, but one of the things I looked at is numerology. Even though I'm Asian, I'm supposed to be good at maths. I'm not that good at maths, but look at the numbers. I remember Pythagoras' theorem is something they taught in maths, but for Pythagoras, he created this numerology. And how could just certain numbers, like how turn out life, the number of your house, the number on the streets, and like the number of your birthday, the time of your birth, how would that make sense? But when I looked at my own personal profile, wow, that seems pretty accurate. But sometimes with the tarot reading or with horoscope and stuff, it's so generic that it's almost like applied to everyone, right? But the numerology, with my family members, it's like I didn't just compare one number. So I look at least 13 different numbers and what the karmic lessons that we can learn. I look at the whole set of numbers and comparing the different family members and compared to my friends. Each one of them is so unique, and is at least 80% of them is so reflective of that person, their personality trait, and understanding that we all got a certain life path that we came here to do, whether it's a healer, as a teacher, as a villain, or some people just to hold space. And so when we wake up, there's also a certain, it's all preset, but at the same time, we got free will to navigate. If we wanted to change it somehow and wake up earlier, or prolong and wanted to be in the matrix for longer, we could not swallow the red pill and stay sleeping for some time. But if people wanted to wake up sooner, this is my experience. The people that's ready to wake up, it may seem like it's free will, but they're open to it. And I'm sure you experience this. People that are not ready, no matter how much information you put in front of them, it will not happen. They say, oh no, this garbage. Even if they not say it's garbage, oh, it's not for me. They're just not resonating with it. But that's why they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will.
And what would you, for example, now someone listening to this, like maybe still employed, like doing a daily, whatever, like the average life of humanity on this planet, working from 8 to 5, maybe then wine, pizza, Netflix, sleep, return, like he's watching this, he's listening to this conversation, he's getting intrigued to know more about awakening to your, whatever, like true powers, like going beyond the 5 senses. Like what would be an advice you would give this person? Like what is there something they could do, they should be doing? Is it being patient, that just going within, asking questions?
I would just go, wake up! I would say that, geez, how blessed are you? There's no mistake that you're listening or watching this right now. The universe somehow, that you are part of the creator, you are the creator. You created this moment for you to hear this message. Whether it is the first time you're hearing this message, or you've heard something similar, and now it starts to make sense. And you know that when you ask your heart, it's resonating. It's almost like you're feeling goosebumps right now. This is just the beginning, or this is part of the journey. You will find the answers. For each one of you guys will be different. That's the interesting things about this hero's journey. If it's the same journey from the person next to you and the person behind you and the person in front of you, it'd be pretty boring, right? The universe designed each one of us to look uniquely different, have different personality for a specific reason. Even each plant, same type of veggies or whatever, same type of flowers, it looks very similar, but each one of them is so unique. Each animal is the same, each rock is the same. At least what comes up naturally. When people cut the diamonds in the same shape, it looks the same, but what's made from the universe is so unique. So you've got your own path to go on. You will find your way home. We've been conditioned, especially in the West, to use our intellectual mind. It's a great gift, this intellectual mind. But now, if you go with the saying, what got you here is not going to get you there. It's time to tap into your heart. And one of the keys in doing that is to have deep breath, conscious breathing. Whenever you remember to breathe, that's a sign of consciousness. When most of the day, for most of us, we're not conscious of our breathing. And we're doing shallow breath. And when you're doing a shallow breath, You're sending a signal to your brain, to your autonomic nervous system, is that standby mode, stress, potentially we need to do work, and it's almost like, even though it's doing work, it's almost like a lion is going to come charging at any time. You need to beware. The kids may do something like draw on the wall or scream. Your boss might come and say, hey, how come you haven't met this deadline? Or clients will say, hey, you accidentally sent this email to me by mistake. So these are not real things that happen, but psychologically it feels so real. So I'm just going to silent for and when you breathe, have a deep breath, you're telling your mind that it's okay, it's calm. You're calming the mind. When the mind is calm, it's almost like a walkie-talkie, learning from one of my mentors, Raphael Eisner. You're not busy talking anymore. You got quiet, and you allow room for your higher self to download onto you, where it's just be. Because remember, when a lot of you guys are probably thinking that, hey, whenever I try to, I've always wanted to meditate, but whenever I try to meditate, all these thoughts keep coming in. Well, who controls your brain? Where does the thought come from? There's another topic, but you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts is almost like your seventh sense. Your thoughts, it comes in, hey, I'm angry. It's almost like you taste the chili. You are not the chili. You're not the chili plant. You're not the chili seed. You're not chili, unless your name is Chili. But even that's just an identity, right? You get the picture. But when you allow your thoughts to flow, hey, you need to clean the dishes, or you need to remember to send this email. Let that thought pass. And keep doing the deep breath. You only need like 5 or 6. Even try it now. Take 5 deep breaths. And every time you breathe out, you can imagine breathing out the stress, the anxiety, anything that you don't want, let it go. Breathe in love, breathe in joy. Blow the yucky stuff out. You feel calmer too now, right? And that's the magic. Rather than filling up with voice, let the peace, the calm. And the more practice you do this, the more that you start to hear voices. Not like ghosts or spirits, it can be, but your intuition guiding you, what's important in your life versus just the doing. And you start to transition from a human doing to a human being. You look at kids as an example of human being, they enjoy most of the time. And when they're upset, they are upset. They're upset in that present moment. They're not thinking about, should I be upset or should I not be upset? They're just upset. But once they're upset, anything that's fully experienced becomes joy. Like what I said about the samskara, they're not holding it. They're not, oh, you're not meant to show your emotions because we're in a restaurant, we're on a plane, we're in a public crowd. They're not holding it inside. They let it out. It's almost like, imagine you need to do a number 2 and you're holding it. What are you going to do? You're going to get constipated. You're not going to feel great inside. It's the same as the emotion, anger, frustration, sadness. You're holding it inside. You're not going to feel great in the long term. So just let it out. And if you can't, you're not appropriate in a public place to just scream and yell, just breathe it out. Feel the emotion of anger. Jesus, I was angry. Get out, get angry. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it could be that simple. It's free. Oxygen is free. Until somebody starts to commercialize it, finding a way to commercialize it.
No, that's a whole other story. If you like, one of the things I was looking at a little bit, water as a carrier of intention, and how we consume it and convert this water. That's a whole other topic. But thank you so much for sharing this little guidance. When it just talked, I already had goosebumps. So I can admit. Very nice. Thank you very much. I know that you've been one of Australia's most successful entrepreneurs, and from what I heard, they call you the Wizard of Oz for entrepreneurs. Like going back to before your awakening and looking at where you are right now. How did your business or business activities possibly change, or how you do things? Like, did something change at all? Like, I'm curious to hear a bit also from that. But then also, like, I know a few other stories about you, that you've been traveling a lot, also that you have a very unconventional approach to educating your kids. And I would really be curious to hear a bit like how this all this transition went, and like what all happened, yeah, over the last like 2 or 3 years.
What a great question, Simon, because part of my awakening journey is like, as much as I wanted to continue to download the wisdom from the universe and learn from spiritual texts, like there are practical things in this reality that I need to attend to, like running a business, looking after kids. And it was pretty much deep into 5-6 months in the awakening journey, not only running multiple businesses.
Yeah.
2 weeks before school was about to start, I turned to my wife one day to say, hey, what about we just homeschool them? 2 weeks before school was about to start. And she knows that I don't have the patience for it, and she doesn't have the patience for homeschooling the kids. So we like the idea, but it's not our cup of tea. It's not like we dreamt one day we have time, we would love to homeschool the kids. No, that was not us. It's like the 5 minutes of teaching the kids, like.
And why do you think, like, why did you thought about homeschooling? Like,
so once I asked my wife asked my wife the question. She said, "What do you think? You don't expect me." She said, "You don't expect me to all of a sudden you just put this on me, and with nothing else on whether we should do it. I've done no research, and it's not something I've been contemplating over. It was a download."
Wow. Yeah.
It was a download, a feeling to say, like, that's the path that you should go. And what's a download? It's almost like, hey, maybe we should eat Mexican tonight. Like, not the human species, obviously Mexican food. And it's almost like that. Let's go and watch this movie tonight. It wasn't like a conscious, let's think about what to watch. It just came. Let's call Simon tonight.
I'm curious, like what's your thought on, like, do we have it all the time, but we actually not aware of it? Is there something like kind of like I recognize in myself that like I need to be listening to it, otherwise I just lose it. And like from my personal experience, like it's all the time happening, but it requires a certain awareness to actually but then also trusting it. Yeah, you might like think about it, but then like just let it go as a stupid idea, possibly.
That's another great question. If I lose track of what was the previous question, you need to get me back on track.
Yeah, sure.
After that, for me, I'm using my intellectual mind to help me, because that's what I've been accustomed to learning. Some people, they say the more that you learn intellectually, because the knowledge of what the wisdom is within, the knowledge comes from external. So you're learning knowledge, but it's not wisdom. Wisdom when you know it internally. So the more knowledge you learn, it can be more noises. It's almost like, let's just say you're playing golf and you're learning from a coach, right? You can practice yourself. But if you get a second coach, a third coach, a fourth coach, a fifth coach, with too many voices, it may start to really muck you up your game. Because before you hit a ball, what did coach 1 and coach 2 and coach 3, and rather than hearing the instinct from your body how you should swing the ball. So is it the voices? Are we always accessible? I'm still learning about it, but I have a guest on my recent podcast. She shared something with me. It's, you know, you heard about right? the ability of clairvoyance, able to see the future. Well, apparently, there are other clear ability, like the ability to hear, the ability to clear sense, the ability to feel, clear cognizant, or the one I wasn't aware of, is even more. Sometimes just, especially when I'm working with people, I'm helping people, there's just a sense that, hey, I know this is what this person is going through. Like, I don't know how, but I just know. But apparently that's one of what they call a special ability, but we just never given a name. We're going to school. The school never taught us a name. This is an actual ability. Even clairsentient is the feeling, and the feeling is almost like there's something that when you hear about it, whether it's a business idea, whether it's to meet a certain people, your heart just sings, yes, yes. You get excited over, and that's your truth knowing that this is the way. Or muscle testing. Muscle testing, you test something whether it's truth or not. So there's a lot of these abilities that we could tap into, that the spirit or higher self can communicate to us on, or seeing a clock, the 1111, or listening to a certain song on the radio, and it's the message you need to hear. So it comes in many different forms. And the more that people are actually, if we went to a school that taught us these are different signs, different ways that our higher self can communicate to ourselves, then suddenly, whoa, it's communicating to us all the time. And apparently, if you give your spirits permission, just like what I did, ask the spirits guides for help, then they are there to help you a lot more frequently. Because we have free will in this 3D dimension, they don't come in to interfere with our life, at least our daily lives. They just guide us when we need them, when we really need them, but they try not to intervene as much. Does that help with that question?
Well, yeah. No, like I don't have an answer to it, so I'm really curious to listen to your share on this. And
yeah. Now I remember the other question you talked about, running a business. And again, like, did I just suddenly think about that? I didn't try. There wasn't any effort put towards, let's think about the previous question, and it just came. It just came at the right moment because I was in the present moment answering that question. Throughout the time of answering that question, I wasn't thinking about, okay, I need to get back on track. I hope Simon can remember it. It just came, and that's kind of how you flow with the universe. You trust it. And part of the trust is about surrendering and letting go of control, because for most of our life, we've been taught that you need to control. Watch the kids don't go out to the street. Watch the doors are locked. What if you believe something that's greater, that if the universe got our back, the kids will be saved, no thieves will come in. Still, you want to do your due diligence, and if you're being called to lock the doors, then lock the doors. And it's a sensible thing to do. But if you're called to say that, you know what, it's going to be okay, you want to unlock it. I'm not advocating anyone to unlock the door, so don't come to me crying and screaming and using, if something breaks into your house, lock the doors. But you know what I mean, that if you trust it, there's so many times that I didn't want to trust, but I was forced to. And once you see miracles after miracles, that something, a more divine plan comes up, you start to trust it more and more. So while running the business, luckily my business has got a great team that's helping me with it. So I've got a bit more time to do more of the spiritual exploration, but still homeschooling the kids took a lot of the time. And I wished that I had more time compared to some of my friends that have all the time in the world. They don't need to work, and just learning, just being. They don't have kids. But I looked at my own journey, and I understood why I have kids, why I have my businesses. Because at night when I learn about a lot of these things, these are just knowledge. When I face the external circumstances of the chaos of young kids in the house and the chaos in the business world, I'm forced to actually integrate. and implement what I have just learned. It's essentially, I've done my theoretical test. Now I'm putting into practice my practical test to see whether I can apply what I've learned. There's no use if I'm just learning all this spiritual wisdom that it may sound good on a podcast, but I'm not congruent because I can't, when it comes to the crunch, where the rubber meets the road, they say, I'm shooting blanks. I can't execute. So a lot of these lessons I'm spitting out to you, Simon, is because I had to physically implement into my own lives. I had to overcome it in my own lives. That's why I can speak with passion. It's not just, oh, what I read from that book yesterday. And I find that when I just try to regurgitate from books or from a video somewhere, it just doesn't have the same punch.
Yeah, so like makes perfect sense. I mean, it's learning, using, and sharing in a way, not to finish this circle of wisdom. And so you had this idea of homeschooling just two weeks before school supposed to start, and then what did you do and how did it turn out?
So my wife said, okay, well, you need to back up with research. So I started doing some research and putting a plan together. And the more I looked into it, the more that I'm confident they can be done, especially with younger kids. Like some of the literature says that they only need like 1 hour or 2 hours of actual schoolwork a day. Because if you look in the actual class, most of the time is running around the playground. And yes, most people are thinking that, hey, would they have socialization? Yes, they're socializing with other homeschooling kids. They have sporting dates with other homeschooling kids. They have play dates, and they also socializing with adults as well, not just people their age, which is what a real society is like. But yeah, like it started off being very, very structured. But the more that I learned, the more that I realized that I just surrendered to the universe. Like you've seen so many parents and the children, especially the ones that have got multiple children, they raise them the exact same way. But one child turns out one way, the other one turned out completely opposite. So what went wrong? Apart from that, each one of them, they got their own path to walk. We can give them as best of the environment as we choose to, but your kids, out of all the 7-something billion, actually that's incorrect. Not all of them are parents. Some of them are too old to have babies, and some of them are too young. But taking into account, there's probably at least 1 billion people eligible to be parents. You've chosen your parents to be your parents, or your kids have chosen you to be their parents because of who you are and who your partner is and the circumstances that you live in. It's going to give them the greatest opportunity for them to develop spiritually. So if you don't have the best upbringing, a lot of people like Oprah or Tony Robbins, they have the best upbringing, but those adversity gave them tremendous leverage for tremendous strength in further into their life. Conversely, the people that have a loving family, some of them didn't turn out quite well. Some of them have a loving family, turned out very well. So when we first have to let go that we have less control than what we think that we are, then you put less pressure on yourself. So I started to the best way I can help them is to help myself. The more conscious I become, the better of the person I become. It doesn't matter what we say as parents. You've heard the saying before, they learn from what you do, not what you say to them. We spitball this out, everyone knows about it, but yet there's so many things that we are hypocritical of. We're saying, hey, don't be, you have to control your temper, your emotions. But today, when I was teaching the kids fractions, I raised my voice. I wasn't embodying my full self. But yet, at least I wasn't critical of myself. But if I beat myself up, they can witness that. Maybe that's what we need to be. If we scream at someone, we need to beat ourselves up after. So the more that we embody the person we are, the more that we embody the loving relationship of husband and wife and father and mother as a role model for them to follow, that speaks volume more than anyone else. And I look at a lot of the great families that I've seen, a lot of them encompass that quality. But at the same time, if you're getting triggered a lot of the time, you're going through a dark night of the soul, that's just perfect as well. In this world, there's perfection and imperfection. Remember, they know the path that you're going to walk on, and knowingly, they chose you as their parents. So just be the best loving self that you can be. But on the practical sense, I put less emphasis on the traditional subjects of math, science, English, and all that. They are still important, but I find that the science of consciousness is a lot more important. How do you become conscious? How do you self-heal? How do you be happy? How do you find joy from internally? Not like going down the rabbit hole of like bigger house, bigger cars, and have lots of friends and parties, and that's what's going to bring you happiness. But at the same time, like if that's the path they go down to, they
And
wanted to come here as a human experience.
how do you do it practically? Like to teach them happiness or to be happy or become more conscious? Is this something you talk with them about? Is this something modeling and they're just copying you? Or is it like, how can I imagine that? Is it like you have like a little classroom at home and then your children are sitting there and you're teaching, you're talking, or like?
I did have that. I did have a whiteboard. I did have videos and all that.
Yeah.
There's a great channel called Spirit Science on YouTube.
Yeah.
I use that one of the resources. And that's another one called, I forgot what it's called, but it's Cosmic Yoga or something like that. Teaches them yoga and using Pikachu and Star Wars themes and stuff. But after teaching them all that, and I look at my kids, generally, they're happier than myself. They laugh a lot more than me.
So basically, they're teaching you.
Yeah, they get over the shit, or if I'm allowed to say that, faster than me. And I asked my son, like my younger son, like, how do you do it? You know, Dad, the stuff that you taught me, I didn't do any of that. So when I'm upset, I just go to my room, I grab my pillow, and I just lay down. And they have their own methodology. Oh, really? So I need to learn from you. So what started off as me schooling them, becoming them schooling me. And I think it's a partnership that we're teaching each other. I'm teaching them some practical skills, but they're also teaching me a lot about life. So yeah, we're just learning from each other right now.
That's so amazing. I mean, I have two nieces who are like respectively, just started going to conventional school, and I witness how they're exposed to different way of like conditioning, right? Like a fear of failure, like listening to an authority figure, like not really questioning too much, just like starting to receive information. And I'm curious, like if you look at your children now, and I assume that they might still have friends like going to conventional school, or I don't know, but like, or you might have friends, you know, like children like from like the conventional environment. Like what do you notice in terms of difference, or is there a difference? How like do you see it diverging, like how they see the world and interact? Or
I see good in everyone. There's beauty in everyone. So at first, when I got into this homeschooling to unschooling to cosmic schooling, I almost wear it with a badge of honor. It became my identity that my kids are what parents use as a standard identity and a badge of honor. Whatever they couldn't achieve as parents, like if I couldn't play the piano to whatever grades, if my kids can perform at that level or even better than mine, it's like, hey, how good are they? They're good at soccer. Look at they're winning awards, or they're such a friendly person. They're such an intelligent person. They're getting A grades. They're getting into big companies. They're starting their own business. But I realized that whatever the journey is perfect. It's like we don't know what the full path is. And some look at us, we went to conventional school and we turned out okay, or at least we're happy with the journey that we've taken. So if that's the path that they've chosen to incarnate and go on, then that's perfect. I believe that my kids, knowingly that they're going to go on this path of unschooling and very unstructured, and weed at times, and crazy at times, and fun at times, that's what they sign up for. And if one of them decided maybe next year, next month, or next day to say, I want to go back to school, my wife and I would support them, and give them that opportunity as well. So we don't know each day whether they're going to go back to school or they're going to stay this way. My intuition says that they're not going to go back to school. There's a possibility, knowing how money works, knowing how business works, and they may not need to work a whole day in their whole life. Having to work, having to pay taxes is the doctrine that's indoctrinated into us. It's a given that we have to do that. But you know that if you've been in investment banking and stuff, but if you invest early, invest wisely, there's a possibility just from the compound interest, you don't have to work forever. And I'm not talking about day trading and whatever, but who's to say that you can't just let money grow, or just be a kind person and do stuff for the love, for your passion, and serve humanity. And as if people wouldn't want to take care of you in return and look after you, whether in kind, in giving you stuff, or actually pay you for your service.
No, wonderfully said. I know because I have seen the video, and I have heard before about kind of like third eye vision and looking, like seeing without your eyes. I've seen this before on videos, but now I know that your children are practicing that, and I've seen a video from you, so that makes that creates a completely different dimension of credibility for me. And like maybe you can share what this is about, how it works, if that's something innate to each of us, like we need to train it, did we lose it? Like I'm curious to hear a bit more, because we're living like in a society which usually to the maturity like restricts what we can perceive to our five senses, right? And so we live in this with this Newtonian physics, I don't know, like also like more like a passenger of our circumstances, and but once you start waking up, and that's why I'm so curious to hear what it actually means in terms of accessing different information.
Again, like this is something that I've never looked into until I started awakening. And part of the awakening journey is like, I started looking at aliens, UFOs, and among some of these like psychic, like the secret society, they've been training people in psychic ability, remote viewing, to spy on. And these are like, some of these are public information now, like from FBI and CIA and the Chinese government. You can find videos and documents and stuff. So it's no longer a secret, but UFO as well, there's well documented, these things exist from the authorities. So when the militaries, the governments are actually seeking, especially kids, on the psychic and empath, and they seek empath to communicate with aliens because they don't speak our language, and remote viewing to spy on different like military base and all these other things. Dude, like there must be something to it. And obviously there's some videos of people using the healing abilities, and part of the awakening experience, I needed to heal myself on a couple of occasions. One of them, like I got significant back pain, and I've never used any spiritual healing or energy healing on myself. Yeah. Like I'm not an energy healer. I never even remotely see myself as that. But again, it just got me into this rabbit hole. And 3 o'clock in the morning is after a meditation process, 6 months of constant pain and seeing healers, physio, chiro, acupuncturists, energy workers, kinesiologists, nothing helped.
Yeah.
But ingrained, again, the inner knowing, I knew that this was my path to learn how to self-heal. And it's almost like the universe saying, you need to learn about money, you need to learn about self-heal, you need to learn about relationships, you need to learn about soul healing, numerology. Like, it's like these are my path, and there's an inner knowing that I needed to learn this. So I learned from different teachers, and one of them meditated 3 o'clock in the morning. Suddenly it's like, man, where did the pain go? It just disappeared. Maybe it's a fluke. Maybe I just got lucky. Let me try this other position. I could still feel it. Let me try it again. Try the same methodology. Whoa, it's gone.
Wow.
And then it's like, oh, and remember, it's been cruciating pain for 6 months, getting worse and worse. Suddenly, it just like melted away. Oh, I can still find something in my neck. Let me try it. Oh, it's gone as well within seconds.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, like I can't even. It's hard to explain, but from these type of occurrence, I started believing more and more and more that we have greater power beyond what we've been taught in the conventional sense. So I have no doubt that we could do a lot more of these like astral projection, remote viewing. So when I came across videos of kids can see with blindfolds without using their eyes, it's like okay, there's some dodgy sources, like the quality of the videos, and you go to the website, some of them doesn't load, and some of them it just looks a bit shady. And because I've been into cryptocurrency, that you learn to spot some of which one are more shadier, and I've been in the digital marketing space for a long time. You kind of see like which one seems to be more credible, and you look up domain names, who's the founder, whether they got actual physical address and stuff.
Yeah.
So I found like a few sources, and one of our friends, Holly, like went to one of the school and says, "Hey, it's legit," and that reinforced my belief that it is possible.
Yeah.
So after contacting multiple schools, and it is extremely rare, it's not easy to find, but finding a school and then finding a teacher that can eventually teach my kids. And then the lockdown happened. The teacher have never taught over the internet in the past, so this kind of like the first time. And so this is talking completely blindfolded. They wear something called mindfold, where you can open your eyes with the mindfold, but it's completely black. You can try yourself. You can't see anything. And they started doing it. They started looking at colors. They probably got 1 in 2. And before that, I got another teacher to teach them psychic to read cards and guess certain things and move objects and stuff. They got a degree of success and they did better than myself. But it wasn't like if they would guess the card, the highest probability they get, if there's 4 cards, be like around 25, 30%, but not like a 50, 60, a significant statistical significant ratio.
Yeah.
But they started showing colors for the first 3 minutes, maybe they're getting like 1 in 3 or something. But after 5 minutes, they're getting like around 75% hit rate.
Yeah, we're talking about the children right now?
Yeah, my kids, with the blindfold on, they're showing the colors over the internet, holding a certain cardboard at 75% hit rate. And then they start reading numbers and letters within the same session. And the percentage started going up higher and higher. Eventually, they started reading a book within minutes of them starting their training. Within half an hour of them reading a book blindfolded. Like my jaws just dropped. I was busy filming it because like I've seen so many of these videos. And I believed it already. But seeing them next to you, I was busy peeking like, you see through? I'm holding the camera. I said, are there any gaps? And I said, maybe there's a small gap. Hey, move your blindfold. Just make sure it's covered up. You're not seeing through the gaps. How are you seeing this? Turning their heads. Like, I was just blown away. And then the more that we do it, the more that they're walking around the house blindfolded, they're playing puzzle blindfolded, they're playing Uno cards with each other blindfolded, they're using Nerf gun to shoot at stuff blindfolded, they're throwing balls at each other, hitting balloons like blindfolded. And it's like, wow. And this is just the beginning, though, I believe, because we all made of energy, we all made of light. So theoretically, you could like kind of be Superman and see through walls, see through bodies. So if you see through bodies, you can see, hey, whether someone's got a bullet inside, or maybe certain body parts has got certain blockages. So there's healing potential. If there's remote viewing potential, there's and like I didn't expect to go down this path. I just thought that if you could do something that 99.99% of the population believe that is not possible, when you grow up in the future, when you come through an obstacle, people say, hey, you never succeed in this business, or you're not going to win that sporting game or whatever they're competing at. Well, you know that you defy the odds from a very young age anyway. So it doesn't matter what people say, because the self-belief is coming from internal, not from external validation. But I don't know whether it will have this effect, because after the first session, when my jaw is like, I showing my wife and showing different people, for them, hey, have a like, because remember, they got the blindfold on, they don't know whether they actually got it correct or not. The teacher said, yeah, good, okay. They have no interest. I said, how do you do it? They have no interest in watching themselves getting it correct. It's almost like, I just walked. It's a big deal.
It's normal, yeah.
Yeah, it's normal. And because two of them did it, neither of them was surprised or wow or in awe. It's just like a sea stuff. It was a big deal. So I was like, wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's such an incredible reminder that there's so much to explore, and that's also more like, I see it more as a remembering. It's like, because everything is within us, and just hearing that story, it's like, for me, this is something we all have available, accessible, and
I've heard from our friends, Simon, that some of them, they in the deep meditation session, they could see with blindfolds on. I've tried it, like the best I can, maybe see some light or something, but I can't see anything. Like, it's so black. Yeah. So yeah, like they say that before the kids turn 12, 13, or 14, the older they become, there's something that happens to them physically, and also the society conditioning. Yeah, it makes it harder for them to learn, because a lot of the limiting beliefs sets in.
Yeah, well, man, like, Gary, that was an amazing conversation, and I guess we could continue talking for a while. There's so much to explore and to hear, but I know I also want to be grateful for your time and appreciative for your time. So, and yeah, is there something you would like to share with the world besides the amazing insights and wisdom you already did? And
I'm just glad that for your audience, they actually found you and found your podcast, because, and before I created the group that you talked about, and starting at least with my friend, after my first 1 or 2 friends through this journey, it was so alone. And some of you guys may have felt that before you came across this podcast. I didn't have the terminology to even search for this information. I didn't even know such information exists. I didn't even know there's such a thing that I was going through. And some of you guys may have thought that you're going crazy, at least internally. And I feel for you, that for those moments that you went through, but you found your tribe now, and you found the podcast, you found Simon, and just keep tuning into the podcast, because more and more people are awakening, and the more that you learn, the more that you understand, wow, I found my family, and I'm finding myself. I'm finding my way home now. And since 2012, we are on this path of ascension. And I've always wondered, everyone talks about we're moving from 3D to 5D. It's like, dude, how come nobody taught me any of this in high school, in university, in work, in even going through personal development? Nobody talks about whatever D and whatever density or whatever dimensions. Like today, I'll spend the most of today searching what is the difference between like the level of densities to the different dimensions, first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth, fifth dimensions, to dimension of consciousness. People using different terminology, like, but whatever terminology, I didn't even hear about 3D, 4D, 5D. Well, what the hell? Like, most of these stuff that we learn, what's the difference between spirit and soul? Why are we here on this planet? How did we came into existence? These are not taught. And I'm looking forward to learning from each one of you guys down the path, whether it's in this lifetime or in another lifetime. But there's something called collective consciousness or social memory, that one day whatever that you learn, you'll be in my memory. And whatever in your memory, it's just like the ants colony, the bees colony, we all share knowledge, we're all going to act as one. It is in my belief that it will happen within our lifetime. It's possible to happen within our lifetime. And I look forward to that day and learning the adventures that you've gone on and what you've learned. If you want, reach out to me, and I'd love to hear about your journey and how you've benefited from this session. Always love to hear from other awakening people as well. So thank you for this opportunity to my journey, Simon. I'm very grateful for the work that you do and sharing more consciousness to this planet.
Thank you very much, Gary. And you yourself run a podcast, so I will make sure that everybody gets the information, the link, and can check your amazing content. And gets inspired by what you share with the world. And like, we'll put all the information available to find out more about you and what you're doing, and also reference the things we spoke about today, so that everybody can access those information. Thank you very much, Gary.
Sending love to you, Simon, and to everyone else.